everybody, my name's Mike. I'm an EMS instructor and a flight paramedic. Today we're going to be talking about CPAP, or continuous positive airway pressure. We're going to talk about the uses of CPAP, the contraindications of CPAP, and how it works. And after that, we're going to demonstrate a device by Mercury Medical. It's called the FlowSafe 2 CPAP system. So what is CPAP? CPAP stands for continuous positive airway pressure, and we apply it to patients that have their own respiratory drive, and it applies PEEP, or positive end expiratory pressure, to our patients. We have done a video on this before, so go ahead and check that out on our YouTube channel. So what CPAP does for our patients is allows for oxygenation of our patients. And to get oxygenation, we need PEEP and we need FiO2. FiO2 being high flow oxygen. And so what a CPAP device does, it applies high flow oxygen with positive end expiratory pressure, or PEEP, which will improve the oxygenation of our patients. So how does CPAP work within our body? And so what CPAP does is, again, it applies PEEP and FiO2, which will improve our oxygenation. But within the lungs itself, it increases alveolar recruitment. It prevents atelectasis, or collapsing of the alveoli. And then what it also is going to do is stent the alveoli open, allowing for more surface area for oxygen exchange to occur. And when that happens, we can create a pressure gradient from our alveoli to our venous system to improve that oxygenation within our patients. So when do we use CPAP? So CPAP is utilized for patients that are in respiratory distress due to an oxygenation issue, and patients that have an intact respiratory drive that can follow commands. And so patients that have conditions such as congestive heart failure, drowning patients, patients that have a low SpO2 due to some sort of respiratory disease, and even patients with asthma potentially. So follow your local protocols when it comes to some of these disease processes, because some agencies won't allow for all of these uses. And so when a patient has things like adventitious lung sounds, rales, or fluid in their lungs, that's where CPAP is really going to work the best. And what it's going to do, again, is increase that alveolar recruitment, increase the PEEP and FiO2 with that patient, and really allow their body to oxygenate much better. So when do we not use CPAP? So CPAP should not be used if a patient has hypotension, generally a blood pressure under 90 systolic. It should not be used if the patient has an altered level of consciousness and is unable to protect their airway or follow commands. If a patient is vomiting at all, we really need to be careful of monitoring that airway and probably shouldn't use CPAP in that situation. And generally, it is not used for pediatric patients as well. So why do we not use CPAP with hypotension? So what CPAP does with that added PEEP, it will increase the intrathoracic pressure and decrease venous return to our heart. And so that may be a good thing to decrease the preload for our cardiac system, which will help with that backup of fluid, but it will also potentially decrease our blood pressure. And if we add CPAP on and that PEEP on top of that, we could create more hypotension. So some tips and tricks when using CPAP. So over the years, I've CPAP'd probably hundreds of patients, and it's great for those patients that are in respiratory distress and even leading towards respiratory failure. Now remember the contraindications of CPAP. They need to be able to follow commands, be able to be coached, and to be able to protect their airway. But it is very helpful when you start off with the CPAP mask to talk to your patients. Let them know what to expect. Let them know how that device is going to work, and really ensure that they understand that this device is going to help them. And so when I start using CPAP, I'll get the mask ready, I'll talk to my patient for a few seconds, and then what I do is I apply the mask to their face and I'll hold it there. And what I do there is for about 30 seconds to a minute, let them get used to that CPAP mask. Make sure that you have a really good seal with that mask, because that seal is the most important thing to ensure that adequate oxygen delivery, getting that PEEP and that FiO2 up for that oxygenation. Once I've really understood that my patient is going to accept that mask and that it's going to help them, I apply the mask restraint or the mask harness. And so whatever system that you utilize, you need to practice really well, because you don't want that first time you break out that CPAP mask and that harness to be on that crashing patient that really needs that CPAP right away. And so utilize your training, utilize your time checking out your rig, practice breaking out that CPAP mask, practice utilizing that harness, coach your partner through getting a CPAP device applied to their face, and then that way when it's time to apply the CPAP mask to that patient, you're dialed and you're ready to go. So there are a lot of different CPAP devices out there, so very important to recognize which one your agency carries and practice with that one specifically. Many of them operate off of a ventilator, but there are devices out there such as the Mercury Medical FlowSafe 2 CPAP system, which operates off of a D-cylinder oxygen tank in that low flow oxygen port. And so what it will do is it attaches directly to the oxygen cylinder and delivers CPAP just as a ventilator would, applying that PEEP and that FiO2 for our patients. And so when you apply CPAP to a patient, logistically, make sure that you are carrying that D-cylinder that is full. And if you have one that's empty, make sure you swap that out in the morning during your rig check, because you want to make sure you have plenty of oxygen from the time you contact that patient all the way until you hand that patient off into the ER. So generally, when we apply CPAP to a patient, we don't take it off until we get to the emergency department. And CPAP can utilize a lot of oxygen, so ensure that you are constantly reassessing your patient, reassessing their airway, their oxygenation status, but also logistically reassessing your transport time and reassessing how much oxygen you have on hand. Okay, so now that we've talked about CPAP, we're going to do a demonstration on how to apply CPAP. And today specifically, we're going to be using that FlowSafe 2 CPAP system. Hey everybody, so this is our demonstration of how to apply CPAP to our patients. Today we're going to be utilizing a device by Mercury Medical. It's called the FlowSafe 2 disposable CPAP system. They were nice enough to send us a couple of these, and we're going to demonstrate on Chris today. He's my boss. And so first I'm going to kind of talk about the product and kind of how we walk through this, putting it on our patient in the field, and kind of some tips and tricks, and then we'll actually demonstrate it. So first and foremost, this is like I said, the FlowSafe 2 CPAP system. It has a detachable mask here. It has an adjustable mask that has 3 different sizes, so really important that we get the appropriately fitting mask for our patient. And so we want a nice fit over the nose, around the cheeks, on the jaw there, because that's kind of our most important thing when we're applying CPAP in the field. And the nice thing about this mask, I've actually had quite a bit of experience using CPAP with this actual device over the past, and the best thing about this is the seal itself. So there's actually this double seal technology in this mask, and I have yet to not be able to get a seal on a patient as long as the mask is fitting appropriately. So making sure you have that appropriately sized mask for the patient is very important. This also has a manometer here that can adjust our CPAP flow here, so our PEEP that we're applying to our patient, and that's adjustable on just a regular oxygen tank. And so a lot of CPAP systems can attach to a ventilator, but this one's really nice because it just attaches to an oxygen tank, and we can take this straight to our patient. This is small enough to fit into our first in bag, your airway bag, whatever you might have, and you can actually start CPAP, say in a house or wherever you start contact with that patient, as opposed to waiting to put them on a ventilator. So it's a really nice system. And so with this system, what we need to do first is we start talking to our patient, kind of talking through what we're going to do, have them trust us a little bit, and then we're going to apply the mask after we've adjusted our flow. So generally starting at 8 to 9 liters per minute on your oxygen regulator. And that should give us 5 centimeters of water pressure for our CPAP, which is a good starting point, okay? So once we've put the mask on our patient, I generally like to hold it to their face first with that 8 to 9 liters a minute of oxygen, and then I attach the harness itself and make sure that I have no leaks on either side and that the mask is fitting snugly but not too firmly, okay? So that's really important that we have no leaks in our mask. And so if we do have a leak, this manometer will not change. It will remain at 0. So it's a really nice way of visualizing that we may have a leak in our system if our manometer is not changing and showing an actual pressure, okay? Once we've applied our CPAP to our patient, it's really important to monitor their mental status, their airway patency, their respiratory rate, rhythm, and quality, assessing things like an end-tidal CO2 if you have it available, or an SpO2 most importantly, because remember CPAP is for oxygenation because it's applying that PEEP and that FiO2, okay? So first off, when I'm starting this off, I turn on my oxygen, starting at about 8. Hey Chris, so I know you're having a tough time breathing. This device is really gonna help you. This mask is gonna fit snugly over your face, okay, but I need you to just trust me here, okay? This is really gonna help you, and it might take 30 seconds to a minute before it really starts helping, but just kind of take some nice deep breaths, and this is really gonna help you, okay? All right, so applying the mask to his face, a nice snug fit here. Let that work for 30 seconds to a minute, just kind of coaching him. It's like, just take those nice deep breaths, okay? Making sure I don't have any leaks, okay? And then after a little bit of coaching, then I apply this harness here. It's kind of a tight fit, but it needs to be. So that's on his face. Making sure I don't have any seals on either side, which I don't, or any leaks on either side, which I don't. I'm checking my manometer. Every time he breathes in, I see that 5 on the manometer, so I know he's getting 5 centimeters of water pressure. And then, again, making sure that the mask is snug on both sides. I can adjust it here and up here, as well as this dial on his forehead, just to ensure we have a really nice fit, okay? And then at this point, if I want to up the water pressure, the CPAP delivery, I can adjust my flow rate on my oxygen tank. So then that can go, at this point, it's all the way up to 10 centimeters of water pressure, which some of your really bad congestive heart failure patients may need. And so you just kind of adjust that flow rate based off of your patient presentation. So with that in mind, making sure you have enough oxygen, keeping a really good eye on your oxygen tank, PSI, and then making sure you have another bottle handy in case you do run out. There is a chart online with Mercury Medical about how long you may have depending on the flow rate and how much your patient's breathing, but a good idea just to keep a constant eye on your oxygen as well. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video, and thank you to Mercury Medical for sending us the FlowSafe 2 disposable CPAP system. Go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of other videos on different topics, and you guys have a great day.